Greetings to you and the best of salutations. Is the world a better place to live in? There's several ways to look at that. Some thinkers look at, they would preference that or base that on events since. Some would say 9/11. Some could say since the beginning of time and when the time began. But some would say, some could associate that since prohibition, since Supreme Court decision 1954, since civil rights, based on events. Yes. Um, my perspective on this, when I think of the world is likened unto a god, and governance. The world is it's a government. It's a government. So is the governance of a government, is it better? And then, or has it made people, or have we become bitter as it comes to our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, our attitude, and our actions? And the ordinance, you know, at times there we try to find our bearings, and we try to coordinate our as best as we can, our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, our attitude, our language, and our activity. I may have forgot language. And then in the coordinates, or the ordinance, the G and the O, the ordinance, remember how you want to use that term, ordinance. Um, but we see in the pronunciation of it, there is order, ordinance, orderance. And I realize about order with that sound, that tone, that pronunciation, I should say, is that we're dealing with order. When you deal with order, you deal with duty. When you're dealing with duty, you deal with responsibility. And that which we must give account for is being responsible with how we govern our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, our attitude, our language, and our activity. Because nature, uh, I've learned, I've come to awaken us consciously awakens our conscious when it tries to get to the intellect or one's intelligence. And if it's unable to get to our intelligence, it leads to us being irresponsible. Irresponsible. Yes. When it comes to the G and the O, now the degree, the governance, ordinance, degree, and degree represents a temper or temperament. And so when you're talking about, is the world a better place to live, and the world is considered to be a god, that's just a concept. So we're dealing with the social construct of ideas that comes out through the minds of human beings, that their world can become better because we all are worlds within a world, and we all are governments within a government. That means the human anatomy. So as is the human anatomy, because the body is a chemical, and it gives off, other chemicals or even energy, if I may use that too as well. So it is the human feelings, emotions, thoughts, attitude, the language, and the activity. Is it better? Is it better? Does it do anything that is contrary to nature, that is out of order? Then you can determine if the world is a better place. Yes. Now, let's look at that again, because I realize that I promote the value of self-worth, and the mandate for me is to cultivate the potential of knowledge that is in us all, which means we move from sympathy to empathy. It's in the transition process. If not, then we're dealing with a spirit of apathy. Is the world a better place? When it comes that people become uh, apathetic, they become showing less empathy and unsympathetic, and unless we can become um, sympathetic or empathetic and become enablers to people, and where we can, when fair seeming can seem good, um, which means one, there is an emotional term called compensation, emotional suppression, whereas that people will they hide their weakness through their success. Yes, and they will exaggerate, you know, their need for self-importance. Is the world a better place? Um, and the motto for me is to communicate. The motto is really a model, and the motto is an observation, because the first sign of reading is observation. And is the world a better place to live in? We have technology, just the intentions behind in which we use a thing. So, but the observation and the motto, that is to communicate with precision, a clearer image to the world through 5 or 5.5 channels. These are the foundations in which I build on anything. Is understanding, tolerance, temperance slash temperament. The They are, the temperance and the temperaments are like the dichotomy, or the bridge, I should say, between the temperance is connected to the self-control, or temperance is connected to the tolerance, and the tolerance is connected to the understanding. And the temperament, which is the also associated with the attitude, is associated with the last two to the bridge that connects to the other side, and that is confidence and respect. So yes, um, is the world a better place? So in the understanding, you have to understand the task, and the task must be synchronized. And when the tolerance is universal tolerance, it must be synthesized into a useful purpose. And the temperance slash temperament, uh, the time is the task, the time, the energy is to be synergized, and the time is to be economized, and that is deal with the confidence, and the respect must be is said it was syncretism. And the reason why syncretism is that which I really am about is reverencing the womb that gave me birth, reverencing the womb that gave me birth, and you have to reverence this matter, the whole, whatever you want to call it, scientifically, that gave birth to this plane of existence, however, any way that it may have come about. And then you're dealing with variables, and variables is arrogated. Variables deal with mathematics or numbers. because there is not one way, there is a variety of ways in which we can say that the world is a better place and every to live in, and is based upon temperament. Now, reason why I say that, because we look at nature, because if I study axiology, study nature, excuse me, the bee nest is at the right temperature. Then we look at the beaver, and the beaver builds the dam, and dealing with ecology. And I always go to Chinka Diop when he says once you throw off one's ecology, one's intellectual aptitude for learning becomes difficult. So then we deal with problem-solving skill, pessimist and optimistic, where pessimist sees every opportunity as something that is difficult, and optimist sees difficulty as an opportunity. So as our problem-solving skills become better, as our interaction skills become better, as our social interaction, as our communication, as our business skills, as our vocabulary skills, as our diction skills, journaling skills, if all these things become better. We want to be better at being better rather than not being bitter. We want to be better at being better rather than being bitter. Better at improving upon managing our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, our attitude, and way in which we communicate our language and our actions and our activity, and intentions is behind it all. Yes. So one could be in several stages, and could be in a pre-contemplation or contemplation stage, and because you are contemplating if I should or I shouldn't, and if you're the governance of the governing ordinance of the temperament of your attitude and your feelings and your thoughts and your language and the actions that you're doing to trying to maintain your sanity, if it's not being controlled, then it leads to premeditative destructive activities and actions. So is the world a better place to live in? Yes. But in that maturation process, communicating precision and clearer image to the world, there's an end result, and there are 5 messages that are being communicated. When you deal with understanding, the task is to administrate. That's still with administration. It's how we administrate a certain dosage or certain information, and it's all done with the intent behind that administrating a certain dosage, because the end result is to restore social credibility. Yes, because I make my case that the society is suffering from SDLD, a social disorder learning disability. So, but then that's one phase of communicating precision, a clear image to the world, is to administrate, is to admin, yep, admin, and that which is straight. And the crooked place is straight, which means we're dealing with overcoming perverted language and perverted actions, perverted ideas. Yes. Not to deviate and do things that is contrary to nature, and being able to distinguish a disease from health or sickness from health. Yes. So the next measurement, you always want to follow the line of progress, and logically follow the line of progress, is that which to communicate a clear image to the world, understanding the tags, is to administrate, and that is to restore social credibility, which means your integrity becomes your word. So, and then the next one is to facilitate, the tolerance of facilitating, and that is to readdress social diversity, many variables in many ways, and not one way to prove that the world is really a better place. That there are many ways, because if you look at the anatomy of the body, There are many streams or veins that are in your body. And you look at trees and limbs that represents the body. And it needs to be nutrients in the water that comes, the nutrients in the water, is that the more rooted it is in the ground, possibly the more stronger it becomes. Yes, the tree becomes, you look at the trunk of the tree as well. And then the limbs, then the leaves. There are symbolisms to that, which I am unable to share. Um, to readdress social diversity, universal tolerance, because I've approached these things, several ways: progressively, universally, holistically, comprehensively, and conscientiously. So I approached the social credibility and restoring social credibility progressively, because doing so we need to learn to reason with progression rather than regression. Yes, and reason from the premise of conversations through a dialectical process that helps bring about change. And that which is killing us, I believe Warren E. D. Muhammad says, is resistance to change, because the seasons change and then your body change and you change at different age. You can't resist change. Yes, intentions is judged by your actions. You always look at the intentions. But yes, and then I approach universally tolerance. To tolerance universally, I approach it, and that's designed to readdress social diversity. That's the effort, and the effort must be synthesized into a useful purpose. And that deals with one's aspirations, because when inspiration comes down, one's aspiration goes up. I say I live my life as an aspirant, to be an inspiration to self as well as to others. And I labor in the field of life transitional endeavors, trying to make an impact wherever I go. So is the world a better place? I have made the world a better place in the lives of others, as well as my own life as well. So then I approached, and that is to communicate language, to facilitate this language um, of readdressing social diversity, universal tolerance of readdressing social diversity that deals with one's aspirations as well. And then I coordinating efforts. I mean, coordinate not efforts, but coordinate not the effort, but the time. To coordinate time, task, effort, uh, time, and energy and nature. I know the time and the energy, they seem to be always in cross. All of them seem to be in cross examination of each other. The effort, the time, the effort, I mean the task, the effort, the time, the energy, and the nature. They seem to be in cross examination of each other. But yes, the task, the effort, the time, to economize the time. That is to determine how one coherent, to be consistent with your thinking and your logic. And yes, and you can tell one is not consistent because he or she is mentally incapacitated. When a person is mentally incapacitated, he or she is unable to reason. Yes, she is unable to reason. As Brother Paul would say, when one is unable to reason, that means a demon is present. Is the world a better place? Coherent. And you could throw the facts out there, and fans for knowing would say, even though the facts are right in your face, you suffer from cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance. Yes, coherent. Being coherent. Is the world a better place? Coherent. That deals with one's retention as well as one's attention span. Attention span as well. Pay attention. Everything is your teacher. So I approach that holistically when it comes to coordinating time, communicating the language of coordination. But I say I come in the spirit of cooperation, and the authority which I speak from is the resiliency, the spirit of resiliency, because resiliency is the author of success. Biologically, when we come out of our mother womb, the womb is so resilient that it gets back in place. That's why I reverence the womb that gave me birth. Yes, that's the redemption power of the woman. So yes, that womb. But yes, so the next uh, understanding to try to is the world a better place. to live in, I approach this comprehensively, and that is to is communicate with precision a clear image to the world that deals with confidence, the continuity of our confidence in cooperating with one another as human has been interrupted as well in our evolutionary process, our rabba, our rab, you know, that nurturing process, that evolving, that which we can realign ourselves and be at peace. When we are at peace, we are no threat to one another. In that message in which is being communicated is coordinating. It's coordinating, coordinating the energy, and that energy is to be synergized, and that is to replenish the social continuity. And I did deal with social coherency before that as well, and I approached that holistically. And then the final frontier is communicating precision, a clear image to the world, is with respect. And that message is to perpetuate that which is favorable, uh, um, because there is favor that has been shown on us in this creation. Because this creation, we are to mate with it, because it is a benefit for us. It is favor. It is favorable. It is favor. It shows us. It shows us favor. Now, at times, I know that there are natural catastrophes that come into play that could be not so favorable to the human and to other species, and that could mess with them emotionally and mentally and psychologically. That I cannot call that I cannot answer for. But I know primarily it is for our favor. I mean, you look at how we interact with one another, and we learn some morals, and we learn something here without so much influence that will contaminate and corrupt the pureness of our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, our attitude, and the language in which we speak and share with one another. You know, the language that we use, that the hair that's on our bodies are a favor to us. You know, the use of our limbs, you know, and the best faculty that's been given to us is the ability to reason, you know, the mind ability to read. That's favor. So is the world a better place in the manner way in which we reason with one another and reason with ourselves? Because our inner conversation that we have with ourselves more than likely create our circumstances, and circumstances makes us other than ourselves. We are born in a condition, placed in a situation, surrounded by circumstances. Consequently, it's done to some previous activity that takes place. And Reverend James Bevel would say, you know, if four things we face every day: problems, questions, issues, and needs. And all of them have mathematical equations. Problems are designed to be solved, issues resolved, needs met, and questions answered. So what is the problem? I say many suffer from an identity crisis. When you know who you are, you're more prone and more susceptible to participating in unjust and destructive tendencies, because what is happening in the intentions is judged by our actions, that somehow or another one's human tendencies are being exploited. Yes. Because if someone exploits your human tendencies, that means that the human tendencies of others have been exploited. And that's called culture hegemony. This is the culture that I'm going to give to the world. I'm going to control you. Yes. And we are born in a situation and surrounded by circumstances. But the problem is identity crisis. The question of governance again. Governance. You could teach, as Al Manzou said, you could teach people other languages, but you can't teach them how to govern. That they must learn for themselves. Question of governance. That's the answer to the question. And the issue is character resolved, because character is the outgrowth of one's humanity. There's a saying, you give the benefit of the doubt, which means you take the benefits and leave the relationship in doubt, because there's a saying, as a man think of, or a person think of, so shall he. Well, you can think a thing and don't do it. So an intelligent person is a thoughtful, considerate person. Thinks things through. That which brings societies and cultures down is that their senses, they let their emotions lead rather than their logic. Yes, a true bill. So is the world a better place to live in? It is designed to that approach and that language is to perpetuate or favor, and that is to reclaim the final frontier. Is to reclaim social solidarity, because when you have respect, anything that comes up against you will proceed coming at you with caution. And that which we must respect is not only ourself, but this creation of life and its existence in its purest natural form. Because if I say that we want to get back to our original state, get back to where what was before, and even though we never been there physically, possibly before, but what is before us and what we behold is what we have at our disposal and what we have in plain view. Is it better? Does it make us better? Or does it make us bitter? Or better at being bitter? Is the world a better place to live in? Is your world a better place to live in? You make the call. Common humanity mission, promoters of the value of self-worth, communicated precision and clearer image to the world through 5 channels and half channels: communication, understanding, tolerance, temperance, confidence, and respect. The mandate is again to cultivate the potential of knowledge that is in us all. The mission is to promote the value of self-worth. As I always say, give to the gift. Social literacy. Look out for the upcoming book, You Can Make a Difference. Until next time, Reverend Walamu Kevin, teachers of teachers, preachers of preachers. Talk to you.